Today, I'll be talking about the top 10 most intense moments that I've been on. Usually, I'm not a big positives guy, but I can appreciate any intense moment when it pops up, and I've been on a few intense rides and intense moments that I will be putting into a top 10. Before we start, I've only been to Cedar Point, Kings Island, Seaward, Orlando, Islands of Adventure, so there are a lot of intense moments around the world that I haven't been on, but other than that, let's dive right in. Last place is surprising, but it's Backlot Stunt Coaster's Triple Helix. This is just a family ride with little to no forces, but this one does, and for at least the Helix and the launch, it's pretty intense. The launch gets you to a solid speed, and it's pretty fun getting you to maybe 30 miles per hour. Nothing crazy, but it gets you up there. A theme that will be going for a lot of these elements coming up later. It's, yeah, the G's have to be intense, but it's really when the G's are elongated and are put on you for a long amount of time is really what makes it feel more intense than usual. And the helices being back to back to back create a lot of positives over a long amount of time and is one really good element for a ride that usually isn't really talked about a lot. The Helix on Orion is at number 9. This one might also be a surprise, but I think this one is super underrated. It's nothing crazy when you look at it, such as just a random Helix on a Giga to add length to the track, but it's pretty powerful. Its positives aren't really mind-blowing, being that it's not like 4 Gs or anything, but it's just a constant 2 to 3 Gs for a good 10 seconds as a real part, while it's intense, just piling on those Gs for a long amount of time. Up next is the Bat's Final Helix. Another one that people don't talk about, but really is amazing. The Bat is just a family thrill ride with a lot of low-to-the-ground turns and helixes that a lot of them do have some good positive forces. And even though it is a family thrill ride, some of those turns are really intense, especially the last one, which is great, and a above-average helix. It's not the longest one ever, but the below the track suspended coaster feels like you're just hugging against the ground and is really cool. That combined with a good 3 positive Gs makes it a solid intensity moment on this very underrated ride that is more intense than many people give it out to be. 7th spot is the Beast Double Helix. This is just crazy, like it's insane. Like maybe the most demonic moment on the list, but it's not the most intense. It's just 2 huge helixes wrapped around each other, which are enclosed. There's a good amount of intensity, but the intensity is really what puts it this high. Having it enclosed is crazy, and the noises you hear are just like, I don't know, nothing else in the world. And obviously, it being 2 of them makes it even more intense. Just keep on piling those Gs and just crushing you, since it's just like 30 seconds of just 2 helixes in a row. Millennium Force's Overbank slides in at number 6. People say that Millennium Force is forceless, but I would have to disagree. All the overbanks, even though are very repetitive and don't really make for the greatest ride experience ever, generate great positive Gs and intensity. And the one that does it the best and is the most intense is the first one of the ride. The speed that you get off the drop and riding straight into the beyond 90-degree bank gives a crazy amount of positives while being pretty sustained. Overall, a great moment. The first ride of the top 5 is Maverick Switchbacks. This is a sequence and not just a specific element or a moment, but it's still really great. The power from getting whipped to left to right and right to left is insane. Not only are you getting a crazy amount of laterals, but the positive Gs are really good, and the 2 combined create a crazy intense moment. Now, if you had a little bit more speed, I think that it would be a little bit higher on this list, since these switchbacks come right after the only 100-foot drop, which gets you up to speed, but isn't as fast as the launch, and the only real intense moments after the launch are the single dives, which really aren't that much better than these switchbacks, but it's still great, and you can't go wrong with them. Hulk's loop lands here. This element and Hulk's Cobra Roll can really be looped in together, since the sequence of this and the Cobra Roll is really crazy and a great ride to show off the front of the park. You get fired out of the launch and rise to the 0G roll, and then you fall down into the loop. It's nothing special since it is just a loop, and there are a ton of them out there, but this one is just crazy. It just pummels you with positive Gs and it crushes you. That with the Cobra Roll right after makes a dangerous sequence, and it's a perfect first half to a G-filled B&M. Next up is the Banshee Pretzel Knot. This one is quite a unique one, especially since that it's the only one in the world, and there's only one other that was ever made. To put it into simple terms, it's basically a dive loop straight into an implement, and then the implement goes over the dive loop to make an inversion that looks kind of like a pretzel knot. But even though it sounds kind of simple, it's great and applies a ton of force. The bottom of the element is just bone crushing and just cripples you. Like, you actually just can't move your body whatsoever. It's a small and compact inversion that really doesn't take up that much land and is very similar to a Batwing and just as similar to its intensity and its craziness. Runner-up is Raptor's Double Helix. This element is just insane and is incredibly bone crushing. It's at the end of the ride, so you've already been through crushing G's, and just ending it with the best and most intense one really is just a great way to end the ride. It's a solid 8 seconds long, and any G's for that long just crushes you under your own weight. And the fact that it's a good 3 to 4 G's for that long seems illegal and shouldn't be possible. But it is, and Raptor's Double Helix is insane and has an insane amount of G's for an insane amount of time, and I love it. It's actually a very good G's moment that I personally enjoy a lot, and a perfect ending to arguably one of the most intense rides that I've been on. At number 1 is the Pretzel Loop on Manta. This is one of the most intense moments in the world, no doubt. The only other elements that can compare are other pretzel loops, like maybe one on Tatsu's, but other than that, there aren't many elements out there that can compare even in the slightest. Rising up and falling down onto yourself is just super weird, and when you hit the bottom, you are crushed with an insane amount of positive G's that I gray out every time, and I know people that black out every time, and I don't know if I can say that about other elements that I've already said on this list. This is a very out-of-place element for a pretty smooth and enjoyable experience, but it's incredibly insane, it's out of this world, it's demonic, it's every single type of word adjective that you can give it, and it's one of the favorite elements that I've been on to date. Thanks for watching. Tell me your favorite positive G's moment in the comments below, vote on my community tab, and other than that, have a good day.